I'm going to read another story from this book, the third one so far, Escape from Mount Moriah by Jack Engelhard, memoirs. There are 18 stories in this book, so there are still many, many more, even if I read another one or two, for you to enjoy on your own. The title to this next story I'd like to read is Fish. So, here we go. My father came from a small town in Poland, where everything besides work and study was superfluous. By study I mean Torah, sometimes 15 hours a day. Father had been the classic yeshiva boy, long earlocks dangling over the books. Later in France, and now here in Montreal, of course, he was clean-shaven. But, as my mother used to remind him, you can leave Prochnik, but Prochnik can't leave you. If to Solomon all was vanity or futility, to my father all was excess. My father's father had been a very pious man, so pious that, wealthy though he was by Prochnik's standards, he slept on a board of wood rather than in bed. This was his way of shunning excess and saving the rewards of comfort for the world to come. Father came from that mold. One day in Montreal he went to visit the Sterns. They had come over on the boat with us. My father was still struggling. Mr. Stern was making a fine living and beginning to think he was American. Mr. Stern showed my father his fishbowl. "Look," said Mr. Stern. My father looked, and there inside the fishbowl he saw goldfish, yellowfish, bluefish, redfish, greenfish, whitefish, and silverfish, all swimming back and forth, as fish do. Mr. Stern was very proud of these fish. Somehow they made him a man of property, a man of leisure. No more greenhorn. My father only saw fish, and fish as a hobby did not thrill him much. "What do you think?" asked Mr. Stern. "What's to think?" said my father. "What do you think of my fish?" "A fish is a fish." This devastated Mr. Stern. "These aren't just fish," Mr. Stern protested. "So what are they?" "Well, they're special fish." "How are they so special?" Mr. Stern grew irritable. "They swim," he proclaimed. "This," said my father, "makes a fish special." "I watch them swim," said Mr. Stern. This amazed my father. He said, "This is what you do with your time? You watch fish swim?" "Yes." "All day?" "Not all day. When I come home from work. It's very relaxing for a man." For a man such as my father, relaxing was a glass of tea and a newspaper, not fish. He said, "When you come home from work, you watch fish swim. You have nothing better to do." "So what do you do with your spare time?" Here Mr. Stern had my father. My father had no spare time. Not only that, he could not fathom the concept. Spare time? When there was endless work to be done, and the Torah to be gone over again and again. There were 70 different meanings and shadings to each word of the Torah. What spare time could there be? "No, no, no," said my father with a Prochnik shrug. "If I had spare time, maybe even I would watch fish swim." This was his attempt at harmony, but the visit had not been a success. My mother later said to my father, "You had to make such a business about his fish." My father kept his silence, but for days, even weeks afterward, he was still puzzled. "A grown man," he'd mutter, "and this is what he does. He watches fish swim." Another of the little parables that can make you think for a while if you'd have the mind to do so. Jack Engelhard, Escape from Mount Moriah.